this really is a constitutional question. And like Mark, I'm very cautious about changing the Constitution. In fact, the 27th Amendment was proposed in 1789 and wasn't ratified by the state of Michigan until 1992. So if we want to work on term limits, you better get started now. It's going to take a while. See how slow this thing is. We have term limits. Steve Kagan will experience it next November.
For the longest time, my argument against term limits was always what Reed just said, was that we could vote them out whenever we want to. But I came to learn that the reason that our founders never instituted it was because they were honorable men. It was virtue. They weren't there for the money. They made sure that, at Washington, he didn't take a pay. We don't have those kind of people anymore. This has become their job. This is their life. This is their livelihoods. So now, the time is right for term limits. Personally, until we get rid of the pension benefit that kicks in after 5 years, I think the House should be 4 years. Nobody should earn a pension on the back of the taxpayers. That's not what it's there for. So my commitment would be, I won't run past 4 years. Fact is I don't deserve a pension for serving the people. If I didn't want to serve the people, I should go up there and serve the people. I shouldn't worry that I'm going to get a pension out of this. The fact that you can be elected to one term in the Senate and get a pension is horrendous. And we wonder why we're spending too much money. So I'm for term limits, severe term limits.
My question to all of you, if elected, what will be your first bill in Congress to introduce represent this district, and why?
I think that this election and several going forward, Jack, it's going to really come down to economics. And the first thing that I want to work on, the first bill I want to sponsor, is one that requires the United States House of Representatives, which is the only body that can appropriate money, to have a balanced budget.
That is an interesting question, Jack, because there's so many areas that we could address. So many areas. One of the first bills that I had thought about was an immigration reform bill, but then there was another one that came to mind, and it's doomed to failure. So that tells you how much I really want to put it in there, that my first piece of legislation would fail. What I want my first piece of legislation to be is a reaffirmation of the 10th Amendment by the federal government. There's a move throughout the states. About half the states have already took this up in their House and their Senate. I want to see the federal government get on board and say, you know what, we agree. We have overstepped our bounds, and we now reaffirm the 10th Amendment.
In talking to the sheriffs around the district many times, first words out of their mouth when I ask them, so what's going on with your world, is drugs and illegal immigration. They're linked. My first order of business is to get the fence built and to get our borders secured.
The type of government our founders gave us was a representative republic. The duty of government was to uphold the God-given rights of the people and to protect the property of the people. Sadly, we have not kept our original form of government. I, for one, am ready to throw off the chains of slavery I was born into. What I need to do is determine which of you, either through reflective thought or maybe unknowingly, have embraced a socialistic mindset. So my question is to you, when is it morally acceptable to take my money, my tax dollar, if you will, and give it to someone else?
Ooh, you just posed the easiest question of the night. Because it's never acceptable to take your money, to put my hand in your pocket, to give it to someone else. Now, one of the cases that I would point to where we just said that that is absolutely okay would be Kelo versus Connecticut. And if you're not familiar with it, one homeowner was holding up a development, but he had that right. They took his house, they paid for it, sure, whatever they called it, it was worth. They took his house and gave it to a developer, to a private citizen. It was not being used for a public use. But the rationale of the Supreme Court was, it's for the common good. It's for the economic good. That's a travesty. He had every right to own that property until the day he died. They should have never been able to take it. If it held up the developer and he didn't make the money, so what? That's the way things go in our country. First things first, our freedom.
You ask it?
She's basically asking, when is it morally right for you to take money from one person and give it to another?
All cases. Well, so taxes you're referring to?
If you were to take my tax